Great. So we'll call our meeting to order today. It is 5:01 p.m. And let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag for the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Gert, or Biggie, if we can turn to you for the pledge.
As a citizen of the world, I will follow Goethe's circle of learning. Curiosity opens my mind, ideas lead to knowledge, responsible choices show respect, cooperation strengthens others, learners are courageous, empathy creates community.
Als ein Bürger dieser Welt folge ich dem Kreis des Lernens, neugierig, ideenreich, respektvoll, kooperativ, mutig, empathisch.
And will we return to having the Spanish thread now that Akbaba is back?
Sure. Como ciudadano del mundo, seguiré el círculo del aprendizaje, creatividad, ideas, respeto, colaboración, valor, empatía.
Great, thank you, and so great to have you back. Welcome. Let's move on to the roll call. Vicky, do you lead this or do I?
You do.
You do.
Okay, great. Frank?
Here.
Pete?
Here.
Katrin?
Here.
I'm here as well. Has Yasir joined us yet?
But
Not
yes, he's
yet.
going to be late.
Great. Now let's move on to the next item, the approval of agenda is presented. Does anyone wish to move that?
I move.
Great. A second?
I'll
I
second.
second.
Seconded by Katrin. Let's call for a vote. Frank?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Katrin?
Yes.
I approve as well. Let's move to the next item, public comment on general items in the board's jurisdiction. Casey, I'll turn to you.
The public may comment on any item that is on the agenda or any other item that is in the board's jurisdiction. Members of the public who wish to comment during the board meeting may use the raise hand tool on the Zoom platform or raise their hand if attending in person. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and the total time for this purpose shall not exceed 30 minutes per meeting. If an interpreter is needed for comments, they will be translated to English, and the time limit shall be 6 minutes. Individuals may speak 1 time per subject. The Board of Trustees reserves the right to mute or remove a member of the public if comments or actions disrupt the board meeting. Board members are prohibited from responding to or commenting on matters raised by the public that are not on the agenda. And at this time, it looks like there is no public comment.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next item, the consent agenda has 1 item on it. That's the approval of the regular board meeting minutes of December 11th, 2023. Do I have anyone to move that item?
I move.
And do I have a second?
No second required.
No
Consent.
second required. Thanks, Frank. All right, let's call for the vote. Or are there any comments on this before we move forward with the vote? All right, Frank,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Katrin,
Yes.
and I approve as well on the reliance on my fellow board members' recollection of what happened during that meeting. Let's move to items for discussion and action. The first item up is a leadership team report. Begin, Casey, over to you.
You bring it up. Okay.
All right, so we are very happy to welcome back our assistant principal, Nazmia Akbaba. As you all know, she was out on leave from the end of last year through the beginning of this year. And her first day back with us was Monday, January 8th after our winter break. So for those first 2 weeks, we had Frau Akbaba and Frau Paul working together in their assistant principal roles. And once we were in the day-to-day actuality of it, we were able to fine-tune some of the responsibilities and how they were distributed amongst the 2 of them also taking into account the responsibilities that fall under our IB coordinator, Ms. Trong. So what we have represented on the screen is the outline of what those distribution of responsibilities currently is. I will add just a caveat that we'll talk about in a following slide is starting this week, Frau Akbaba and Frau Paul are also taking on some of the instruction in terms of our German program. So I'll speak more to that in an upcoming slide, but we really looked at having both assistant principals have a main area of focus. So for Frau Akbaba, that really is with the special education program that we provide. With Frau Paul, with her work with the middle school and with our SEL curriculum and our behavior and student support, that's really been her main area of focus now that we have Frau Akbaba back as well. Excuse me. We also thought, and it's been working really well, to divide up the grade levels that each assistant principal focuses on in terms of just the daily support that students and teachers might need. So Frau Akbaba is focusing mostly with elementary school in coordinating with different elementary school events and activities that we have, while Frau Paul focuses mostly on those middle school events and activities. And then in terms of student behavior and support for classrooms, Frau Akbaba is looking at those younger grades, TK through 3rd, and Frau Paul is supporting 4th through 8th grade. We made that line the distinction between that daily behavior support for students in classes because that's the halfway point in terms of total student numbers. If we did a division of elementary and middle school, then the numbers of students in classes that each assistant principal would be working with would be unbalanced. In addition to the special ed piece, Frau Akbaba is also focusing mostly on our student success teams. So any students who are in need of some additional support would first meet for team meetings with their teachers, their family, and then Frau Akbaba. And then we would determine whether additional supports might be needed, which sometimes might lead into special education, sometimes not. For the assistant principal role with Frau Paul, she is also working on those SSTs with those upper grades. And then she, in addition to just general help and support that they're both doing, is continuing on with her work for the language testing for our German language assessments that we do in the upper elementary and middle school grades. So the A1, the A2 and the B1, and then also coordinating our German alumni program, which happens after school for middle school students. Angel Trong gets to fully focus on her IB program for the most part. So providing the training and instructional support to staff, working a lot, especially this year, on our applications and renewals and then visits. We've got information coming up on that later tonight. And then also really supporting with our grade level teams and making sure that the curriculum is following what we need to be doing as part of our IB program. She continues to work with, as she has in the past several years, with coordinating support for some of our assessments that happen once or twice a year, like our LPAC for our English learners, CASP testing, which is ELA and math in 3rd through 8th grade, and then our GATE testing, which we typically do in the upper elementary grades. Pause there.
Do you have any questions? Because that was a lot of information. And before we go on, it might make sense to have the questions now because that was such a specific area of presentation.
Thanks, Peggy. Frank, any questions?
Get the concept. Anything we're missing here, rather than what's on the sheet here? Anything which another school would have, we cannot provide through this coordination here?
Yeah, yes, and also no. So there's nothing that's really missing in terms of this administrative support team. The piece that really stands out that actually I've been talking a lot with Frau Paul about is more student services support. That's really kind of the piece that we need to look at in order to enhance more. So like counseling services, currently we only offer those to students who are already in or going into special education. So it's part of their IEP. So we don't have counseling services currently for students just in the general education program. And we really see a need for additional support there. And then there are other things that, because of our other staffing programs, our intervention teachers teaching in a full-time classroom. So not within the administrative team or like these coordinator type positions, but in general terms of, are there areas that we still need some staff? Yes.
Thank you.
Katrin, any questions?
Not right now, thank you.
And Pete, sorry, I skipped you in order.
That's all right. No questions, thanks.
Thanks. I don't have any either at this point, so I think we can move on to the next item.
Okay, so that's the enrollment update. The first line, you probably know by now off the top of your head that we have budgeted or based our budget on 430 students with 95% average daily attendance. And currently we are at 442. So we are 12 students over budget right now. The attendance rate at the end of month 5 seems relatively low with 93.26%. However, we have a significant number of independent study contracts outstanding, which means, and we just closed month 5, which means that once those contracts are completed and cleared by the teachers, the ADA percentage will go up and most likely hit the 95%, at least that we have budgeted for, even higher probably. The enrollment increased from the previous month by 4. So last month we were at 438 students. The lottery applications have been posted on the website, and also here in the office we have them available since we came back from winter break. And as of last Friday, we already received 76 applications, which means within 2 weeks, we have received a really nice number of applications. You can see the breakdown below here. So 20 for transitional kindergarten, 25 for kindergarten, then obviously in the upper grades a little less. Interestingly, in 3rd grade, we have quite a few applications, which is also probably because we have the opportunity or the option of the acquisition program, which means in 3rd grade, students who do not have German background can start easily because they can start in the acquisition option. And then obviously 6th grade is an entry point. And what I've also seen in a couple of tours lately, that people ask if we have also availability for 5th grade, either now or then they apply for next year 5th grade, because they know that if they enter in 5th grade, they would be automatically enrolled for the middle school piece in our school. This is just the breakdown for the classes with the 442 students total. We're getting pretty close to the average class size of 25 students. And when you look at the classes, there's only 4th grade that is 27 students per class section. All other class sections are anywhere between 21 in TK and 25. So really nice class sizes in all grade levels.
Any enrollment questions before I give the staffing update?
Frank, any questions? That is a no. Pete,
Nope. Nope.
Katrin? All right, I think we can move on. Thanks.
No,
Um,
sorry, I'm having a bad connection today, just letting everyone know, so I'm staying off camera. It's probably the rain, I don't know why.
Understood, thanks.
So we still have the same two open full-time teaching positions, the German kindergarten position and the English fourth grade position. We did have a very promising candidate for the fourth grade position who we were offering a position for, but that fell through and they are no longer available. So between our last meeting and now, I have spoken again with our teacher who's filling that English fourth grade position, and she is more than happy to stay as the classroom teacher for that class through the end of the year. Also same with our substitute who's in the German kindergarten class. We're still posting and looking for teachers to fill those, but we still have the same current setup with the same substitute teachers in those two open positions at the time. Because of the German kindergarten position being filled by Frau Michelle, that still leaves us with one full-time open instructional assistant position in kindergarten that we're currently covering with a substitute because we know we don't need that once we have the teaching position filled. And then we have posted for an additional RSP teacher. This would be a part-time position. We recently identified some new students to receive special education services. And so our current resource teacher is at the capacity for their caseload and doesn't have enough time in the day in order to provide all of the service minutes that are now going to be required. We have posted in a couple different locations and we've got some interviews scheduled. We just did an initial one this morning with a very promising candidate. And we've got two more coming up for this week. And so we'll keep the board updated on how that process goes as well.
Can I ask a question on staffing? So, clearly for the first and fourth grade teachers and then the impact on the instructional assistant position, there's a plan for the end through the end of the school year if we can't bring someone in before then, but is there a longer term plan for trying to make sure that these roles are filled for the next school year?
Yes, so that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that question. We had at the last summer and end of last year, Biggie and I did lots of interviews with really strong candidates, particularly for those German positions. Unfortunately, none of them were able to come for this year, but there were several who were very interested in our school and joining our team. And so we have stayed in communication with them. One of them just emailed me the other day to ask a follow-up question. So we're staying in close contact with particularly those German teachers so that we can make sure that come the beginning of the new school year, we've got them in place and ready to go. With the English position, we do have a plan for next year. That one's a little bit easier to fill with not requiring the German language piece and someone needing visas or credential transfers as our out of the state or out of the country candidates do. So we're feeling very, very good about staffing for next year. On our next step for tasks is to look at our staffing plan and make sure now that we don't have too many candidates for the positions that we would need to fill, because we do have some staff who had left that would be returning to us as well.
Thanks. Frank, any other questions? Pete
Nope.
and Katrin?
No.
All right, thanks. Let's move to the next topic.
Which is Prop 39. So we had received the district's objection letter by December 1st, and we had an opportunity to respond to that letter by January 1st, which we did. And we verified again the calculation or enrollment projection that we had done for the 24-25 school year. We also submitted additional supporting documentation that further made sure that they understood why we did the projection that we did with the November 1st application. And now we're waiting for the preliminary offer that will be extended to us on February 1st. Want to do that?
So for our annual district oversight visit.
Can I ask a question? I apologize. I had to do, I wasn't present for 2 seconds, so I apologize. But in the facility, are the expectations still that we are based on the current enrollment and based on the calculation that we are that we are in line of getting our at least the same numbers of rooms?
So that's how it happened last year, even though the projected ADA or in-district ADA wouldn't have warranted the number of rooms that they actually assigned to us. So we expect that since they know our overall enrollment and the projected in-district ADA, we would assume that we will get the classrooms that we have this year. The hope would be that we get a few more because we have more in-district projected or in-district enrollment projected. However, there's always still the negotiation possibility by giving back shared spaces and getting exclusive or teaching spaces that we consider below the line, but then we use them exclusively. So that's how we received 2 additional classrooms this year. And that's how we could also move forward for next year. Hopefully we would get the existing 19 classroom spaces and then still have that negotiation option, but we shall see. At this point, the lawyers indicated that the district has lost less students than in previous years, so that their calculation basis for how many students they expect to be in one classroom has increased a little bit, which then would result in less classroom space. So if they said for the 350 roundabout in-district ADA that we're projecting, we calculate that with 20 students per classroom, then it would be more classroom space than if they calculated it with 22 or 23 students. So that number is not yet available. So we will have to wait until the preliminary offer to see where that goes. And then we should right away start with our work with Marina Del Rey Middle School to see where they stand, because they are enrollment-wise significantly lower than us. So we're at 442 and they are under 400 right now. So there is space on this campus, and we would start, once we know how the preliminary offer looks, we will start with the negotiations right away so that we can see what options we have for next school year.
Thank you.
Any other questions from Peter Cotron on that? All right, thanks. Let's
No.
go back to oversight.
All right, so we had our annual district oversight visit the Thursday before going on to winter break. So that was December 14th. And it was a really successful day. We've got the agenda there posted for you, but the district oversight visit always starts with an opening meeting with school leadership and the charter school division team. And we get to share, what's happening with the school, give them some context for what they're going to see when they go into the classrooms on their classroom observation visits. What's really great is we had the same charter school divisions person leading our team as we've had in previous years. So it was lovely to see Kathleen DePaula again. And it's always great when someone already knows our program a little bit because it's a little unique. And so we had some new staff members who were also part of the charter school division team that were visiting our school that day. So we got to meet a couple new people. And then we also had our fiscal person, Joe, and I'm for Joseph,
and he,
I'm blanking on his last name,
Day.
who has been part of the charter schools division team working with our school for the last several years as well. After our opening meeting, we always have a meeting with our SPED team and the charter school division so they can ask any questions specifically of our special education team and make sure that they've got all the information they need for their oversight report. And then we spend a nice chunk of time going through classrooms. They look at a range of classrooms from all of the grade levels, and they're looking for two specific areas. One is for safety and compliance, so making sure that the rooms are set up the way that they should be and that we have our emergency supplies readily available. But also they're looking at curriculum and instruction. So we always are able to provide them with, here are some things that we're working on this year to keep in mind as you go and look in the classrooms. And we always like to highlight our IB program, student inquiry, the interactions between our students and staff. And so it's really nice for them to get to see our kids and our teachers and interact with them. Then they do a working lunch, and then they continue with reviewing the documents that we had submitted several weeks prior. They actually left a little bit earlier than had planned on Thursday because they got through all of what they needed to see in person with us. So it felt like a really positive visit to have. And then there are a few things that always need to happen after the visit. So there are still some more fiscal inquiries that they send, which Biggie was sharing have been submitted. And then we also, because our visit was so early this year, typically it doesn't happen until second semester. Some of the data that we always need to respond to is just not available yet. And so just today, I got our set of questions in regards to our school data from the California School Dashboard website. And so we'll be responding to those and submitting those by the beginning of February. Any oversight questions? We won't get the report for a while still, but it will always come within before we go into the next school year. And so as soon as we get that report, we'll share that out with the board and everyone. Anything I'm missing?
No,
Biggie?
just thank you
Yeah.
to Katrin because she was present as on behalf of the Board of Trustees for the morning opening meeting, and that was really nice because made a good impression on the charter school division, and I hope it also gave Katrin some insight of how this whole process works. And yeah, from the fiscal person was not on site. He just joined via Zoom for the debrief meeting because we had done a lot of the fiscal document exchange and questions and all that prior via email or Zoom. So that the day off was really very focused on the educational piece of the school.
Thanks. Do any board members have questions on this, Frank?
No, I think we'll wait for the report, but I don't think you guys expect anything, major coming out of this, right? Is that what I'm delineating from your report? Good. Okay, thank you.
Pete, any other questions?
Not for me, thank you.
And Katrin?
No questions, but it was definitely a very positive experience being part of an oversight visit on behalf of the board. And I think that working on those positive relationships with the people who were there and visiting really paid off for our leadership team. I could see that there was this mutual sort of foundation of trust and respect there. And I think that definitely is very helpful in maintaining the positive results and working with the context there. So yeah, I think everyone was very well prepared. So good job with the team.
Great to hear. All right, let's move to the next item.
So Frau Paul was going to join us, but she had to go home early. She was feeling ill. So she's at home resting. So I'll do the middle school update for her. She really, as overseeing kind of our middle school program coordination, has been focused a lot on making sure our middle school students really feel like they have a middle school community. We have a really great community school-wide. But one of the pieces of feedback we have been hearing from last year from students and families in middle school is that middle school hasn't felt like its own special group of grades just yet. So this year we really made a focused approach to creating a really strong and positive climate and community for our middle school students. So some of the things have been in place from earlier years, like our after school sports program. So that we started in the 2022-23 school year, so last year, and have continued that again, and also have continued to have really great participation with that. So this fall we did our girls volleyball, boys flag football, and new this year was a co-ed cross country team. And then in the spring, we're going to do girls soccer, boys soccer, and then new for us is a co-ed volleyball team, and then also the possibility of a co-ed track team as well. As I said, we've had great participation from our middle school students and also a lot of interest from our fifth graders. So depending on space, we've been able to let our fifth graders participate in some of these middle school sports as well. So new in this school year have been our middle school clubs. These actually started last week when we came back from winter break. So we put out to our staff members if anyone would be interested in leading an after school club for our middle school students, and we got a great response from them. So we're able to offer badminton, which is being done with Mr. Folger. We've got creative writing with Mr. Bradley, crocheting with Layla, board games and chess with Miss Landman and Mr. Rand, and then an anime/manga class with Mr. Rhodes. So we had our first group of clubs start last week, and the kids were super excited. Frau Paul and I went into each of them and they were having a great time. So we're excited to see how these continue to evolve as we go throughout the year. We also have started doing quarterly socials. So the plan is that once a quarter, we'd have an after school social time where students just get to be together and hang out. So we had our first one in December before going on winter break. It was an hour and a half in the NPR with music and snacks. And the kids had a really great time. And so we'll have 2 more this year, and then next year we'll do 4 throughout the school year. We got some great feedback from students after the first one, and they gave us some really good ideas for fine-tuning how we're going to structure the upcoming events. So we're really excited to continue with those. And then on Friday, we had our first of our monthly pep rallies for middle school. These are led by Coach Washington. And so each of our middle school grades has identified a grade level color that they are for the year. And they did fun competitions together. So there were some egg balancing. They did some things with donuts. So lots of relays, and really all about cheering on your teammates and having a good time together. So that will happen once a month in the afternoon. The clubs, just 1 hour. And then the clubs, the social, and the sports are all after school. So those have all been really positive ways to get our students connected with each other and with the school, most of which are new this year. And then we are very excited. We've kind of been rethinking how to make our 8th grade end of year experience different from what students had done in 5th grade. We also found from trying a few different overnight camps with our middle schoolers that there really wasn't one that kind of fit seamlessly with what we were looking for our students. So what we're trying this year for our end of 8th grade kind of special field trips are a physics day at Knott's Berry Farm, a floating marine lab experience where they'll actually get to go out on a boat and explore the biodiversity in the harbor, and then a day hike close relatively close to school with Tree People. So we're looking for ways to get our students that science connection that we have in 5th grade to prepare students for testing, but also really special experiences for them as end of middle school times. And then the last big important update for middle school is really focused on our mental health and well-being. I mentioned a little bit earlier how Frau Paul and I have really been talking about the need for more emotional support for our students, particularly as they get older and are in those middle school grades. So some of the things that have been happening this year is we introduced a new social emotional learning curriculum for our middle school students. It's implemented during advisory, so they have dedicated time at least once a week where they're going through this new curriculum and the lessons. And they cover lots of different strands of focus for students, everything from self-management and self-awareness to social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making. It's been really valuable so far. And in addition to using the curriculum within our middle school advisory times, Frau Paul and I have also looked at it and used it for supporting specific students with areas that they might need further help with. We also were really happy to have NAMI, the National Association of Mental Illness, virtually come to our school and present to our families, and also to come into classrooms and do presentations specifically for our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. The community university offered some wonderful information for families, just about what to be aware of, how to get support, how to know when you might need help for your child. And then the discussions in the classroom followed a similar vein, but geared specifically towards students. NAMI is an organization that comes and does these presentations for free, and they have a lot of different resources that are really helpful. So that was a great addition to supporting our students and families this year. Frau Paul is also looking into the development of a leadership program, looking specifically at We All Belong, or WEB, which is a program that's used in other middle and high schools in the area. There is a training that's being offered this year that she'll attend, and we're looking to launch this with the upcoming school year. Basically, with this leadership program, you take students in the older grades and they really serve as mentors and leaders for your new incoming students. So this year's 7th graders, as they'll be in 8th grade next year, would be trained to really bring in and help support our 6th grade students. And then, as I mentioned, just exploring the options for how we can provide counseling services to our students who are not in the special ed program. We've seen from the pandemic and then just continuing on that there really is a need for our students to have support with counseling services here at school, even for just our general education population. I'll pause and see if there are any middle school questions.
Thanks. Yasir, I see you're here. Do you have any questions?
Sorry, Sam, I didn't know you were going to be here. No questions. Good seeing you, though.
Yes, surprise for me too. Frank?
No, this looks good. Just how many hours a week would we expect to do mental health and well-being? An hour, maybe? Is that what it adds up when we're
Are you talking about the the counseling services, or
everything, like, because we have we're leading with the social emotional well-being, as one of our what is it, key programs, right? How much would you say, if we were to expand this program, the SEL curriculum and all that kind of stuff, how much would we provide in instructional minutes around that?
Yeah, so they have 2 advisory classes a week, and so those really are a main focus for this SEL support and classes and activities. But really, the beauty of our school and the resources that we've been using for these curriculums is that gets woven into everything. So especially this new curriculum in middle school, similarly to the Caring School Communities curriculum in the elementary grades, It's got snippets of things that you can use all throughout the day. So it really depends on need. There have been times where teachers really have needed to spend much more than their advisory time to provide this SEL support for students in these lessons and classes. But definitely those 2 advisory times throughout the week, and then woven in throughout their regular classes as well.
Thanks. Pete, any questions?
No, thanks.
Katrin?
And none from me, thank you.
And I'll just echo Frank's applause that he's doing in his Zoom reaction box. And let's turn back to the team for the fundraising update.
That's just a few numbers, and they are as of today. So at this point, we have raised $265,596.12. As you can see, we have different areas where we received money. Some other events are still coming up, so this is not going to be the end amount or end number. But as of right now, we're standing there, which is in line with where we should be this year. The annual giving is a little lower than last year right now, and we're expecting probably to end up a little under 200,000, which was the goal for this year, except someone might still want to donate who didn't donate in the beginning of the year. There will still be another outreach for this. We have a few matching donations pending, so that number will still go up. And then the Eat for Goethe is going on throughout the school year. We have more Goethe cafes coming up, and we will have a second book fair in the spring. And then obviously the big event is the gala in the springtime that will also add to the number.
Thanks. Any questions, Yasir?
No questions. No questions. Thank you.
Frank? Pete
Nothing from me, thank you.
and Katrin?
No questions, thank you.
Great. None from me either. So I think that concludes our leadership report. All right, so Yasir, I will turn this back over to you to carry on for at the item B Finance Committee report.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the financials for December 2023. Do I have a second?
A second.
It's from Frank. Go ahead. Is Ryan here? Yep, there we go. All right, go ahead.
In essence, we went a little bit overboard with the 20 minutes on the executive report. I think we can regain some traction here by keeping the finance report short, quick, and sweet, so to speak. Ryan?
Absolutely, because there wasn't a lot of change from the last time we met as a group to review the financials. So as of today, we have our December 2023 financials for the board to review and approve. With our December financials, we have attendance information through month 4. Month 4 is significant because it marks the end of our period 1 attendance, and it will dictate our funding for the next portion of this school year. And our ADA, I'm happy to say, is 423 at the end of month 4. And our average daily attendance percentage rate is 96.5%. So we have been exceeding our 95% target for average daily attendance. And because we have more students than budget, we're also seeing higher ADA, which is why our main variances for revenue are positive variances associated with average daily attendance. Looking at the income statement, our total revenue is $159,000 higher than budget. The main contributors here are our local control funding formula, being 51,000 higher due to enrollment in ADA. And we also have about 96,000 higher in state revenue. And we've had this for the last few board meetings now. And what this is, it's timing of one-time funds that were originally earmarked for the previous school year, and we had some more carryover than originally budgeted for, which is giving us a positive variance for this school year. On the expense side, we have seen savings in teacher salaries for this school year. We're anticipating about 52,000 in savings for the year. Those savings are being offset by a higher classified salary for the 23-24 school year to make up for the open positions. And we continue to realize savings in our health and welfare benefits each month that goes by. So our net income continues to grow. At the last board meeting, we said that our projected net income was going to be 153,000, but because each month we continue to outperform our budgeted average daily attendance, our revenue is increasing, and we continue to realize savings on the expense side through the open position and the monthly savings from benefits. So as of December, we're looking at net income of just under $180,000 for the school year. And we anticipate that as each month goes by and we continue to outperform our attendance targets, that will grow in the positive direction. On the balance sheet side, we ended December with $2.5 million in the bank, and we're forecasting year-end cash of $2.4 million. So very strong fiscal position as of December. Oh, and before moving on, I did want to highlight a topic that we discussed in the finance committee meeting regarding our financials, is that this current year budget and this current year forecast includes $372,000 of restricted one-time funds. Primarily through our arts, music, and instructional materials block grant dollars and our learning recovery block grant dollars that are one-time in nature to be spent up until the 27-28 school year. Here we have a breakdown of what this consists of. We have $25K educator effectiveness, $96,000 in arts, music, and instructional materials, and $250 from our learning recovery block grant. Going into the next school year, we have $36,000 of one-time funds remaining. But we wanted to point that out because those are funds that are going away after this school year, assuming that we utilize them this school year as the current plan suggests. In this packet, we have our notes to the financials, income statement, balance sheet, and our check register that we go through in detail at the finance committee meeting. It's sorted from largest to smallest expense. And that will conclude my presentation to give the board back some time. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Frank, any comments to add?
Yeah, I had a conversation with an educator, educator from a school district last week, during soccer practice, and we were chit-chatting about schools and stuff like that. And he mentioned, when you go up to these ESSER funds and all these other funds, you should be stretching them as much as possible, just to make sure, because the funding is uncertain, with the budget coming up. And so we should be prudent, we should be spending them, but we should be stretching them as much as possible to us in order to have buffers available and use these funds and not dip into reserves. General comment.
Sam?
No questions or comments.
Pete,
No comment.
Catherine?
No comment.
All right, then on to the vote. All in favor to approve the financials? Frank,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
That is a yes for me. Moving on to the next item, C. I'd like to make a motion to approve the 4 additional custodial hours for the 2024-25 fiscal year. Is there a second?
I can second, please, Catherine.
That's from Catherine. Go ahead, Biggie.
Did we lose her?
Oh, you're on mute, Biggie.
Oh, sorry. Ryan, would you mind staying on for the auditor's report, which comes afterwards?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so this is a decision that the board has to make for the upcoming school year. We have since 2017, we have bought as the charter school 4 additional hours of custodial service, which means it's not really that they provide these 4 hours specifically to us, but we're basically contributing to the custodial service. And we have seen an improvement since the 2017 school year, since we have contributed to the custodial service. There are a few years now that we've done this. The red ones are amounts that we've already paid. We're not yet sure, or we're not sure why we didn't receive invoices for those years that you see in black there. We have estimated those payments, and they are accounted for in our bookkeeping. So once these invoices come to us, we will be able to pay them. However, we can also see that there is a pretty steep increase between the 2022-23 school year and this school year. Interestingly, the invoice for this school year we already received and already paid, when the last 4 years of invoices we have not received. But anyway, the increase is significant. That has to do with the negotiations of pay for custodial services within LAUSD. So in order for the next year to budget, we will probably have to go around that $47,000 mark. And the board would have to decide, since this is a major contract or decision to make, if the school wants to continue buying these additional custodial hours. As far as we go from admin, we would recommend doing this. It has given us a very, how do I say that, a very good relationship with the custodians. They own much more to also help us when we have things coming up where we require their help, and they feel more responsible for our issues, since we contribute to the custodial services. And then also Marina Del Rey is always very grateful, because it increases the overall custodial time that the school site has. So we would recommend to continue with the purchase of the 4 hours of the custodial service.
All right, Frank, questions, comments?
Comments? The service is necessary. We established this many years ago because of the cleanliness of the school, of the toilets and stuff like that, and the bathrooms and the restrooms. And then don't underestimate the goodwill. Big favor here. The goodwill we are creating with LAUSD and the school is probably on a MasterCard level, right?
Agreed. Sam?
Thanks. I support moving forward with this. Given the shift in the pay rates, is there any need to relook at our estimates for prior school years to adjust what we're holding back while we're awaiting invoicing on that?
We could. I don't expect that they would move backwards and increase the invoice amount, but it's really a mystery to me, and I've spoken to Ryan multiple times about it, or Frank, that they haven't invoiced us for those 4 years, but the decision is to not ask for those invoices at this point, and we're on the safe side because we've budgeted for it and we've put those amounts to the side. But I think moving forward, we definitely need to adjust how much we budget for.
Thanks. And just so I understand, the 4 hours, is it 4 hours a day, 4 hours a week? What is the 4 hour equal to?
It's 4 hours, 4 hours a week. No, 4 hours a day. Sorry, 4 hours a day that we pay. So basically half a person.
Great, thank you.
Sorry about that. Pete?
So that costs roughly $60 an hour for half a person. I mean, it seems, is there no negotiation possible with that? We just accept whatever they send us?
So there's no negotiating possible. Yes, that also includes the benefits though, because we're paying the whole amount that they then, so it's not all of it, the hourly rate, but yes, it's expensive. And we've been told multiple times that there is no way we can bring anybody else on campus to do custodial services, because we've tried to hire our own people that would come onto campus, like cleaning crews every so often, but that is not at all possible on the shared campus. So this is our only way of basically binding or bringing someone in the obligation to help our needs that we have, in addition to what they have to do through the Prop 39 agreement.
Okay, well, I mean, it seems like our hands are more or less tied then. Thanks.
Katrin?
So the current custodial services do not include classroom cleaning, is that correct?
They do somewhat, so they, on a rotating basis, they clean classrooms. However, their definition of cleaning is not necessarily the same as specifically my definition of cleaning, and I think that applies to many parents in our school. What they do on a daily basis is that they empty the trash cans and that they sweep the classrooms. And then, as I said, on a rotating basis, they also clean the classrooms, wipe the desks and stuff, but they don't go and wipe the bookshelves or something like that. And I don't know what exactly the rotation is, but they also clean the floors, the open floor space with a wet cleaning on a rotational basis. But as I said, it's not necessarily what we would like to see, but it's better than if we're sticking with the just regular Prop 39 services.
Is there an opportunity to improve the quality of their classroom cleaning? I'm asking because I see this ongoing conversation of parents being asked to come in on Fridays and clean classrooms, and some newer families to Goethe were a bit taken aback and thought that, you know, we can't afford cleaners. Is the school in bad shape? Why do we need to come in and clean? And so, of course, our room parents are doing a good job trying to explain why. But I was wondering if there is an opportunity to just get more coverage at, you know, minimal increase somehow. So it sounds like they're not doing a great job with the classrooms.
I think it's also a fact that they are not always very highly staffed. So they might have the people on payroll, but some of them are constantly out due to sickness, workers' compensation. There were people out for month and month. So I understand where you're coming from, and we every so often have these conversations. Personally, I haven't seen them go anywhere really. And as I said, with this one person or this half person, we can be more direct, and they have been helpful to us to improve the cleaning services. But they just don't have the same perspective on cleanliness than we do, especially in the classrooms, because this is a middle school campus, and our students sit on the ground and do much more because we have younger students. They are not used to, and they are not staffed for the cleaning of the floors all the time. And so I think our best shot for real cleanliness is to continue having the support of parents to help with the classroom cleaning, in addition to what the custodial service is offering. And what they have been much better than before is the bathrooms. So they've been restocking all the toilet paper and the paper towels for hand drying off, and soap and things like that. That was much worse before. So we've seen an improvement, and when we talk to them, it's just, for me, I've seen it now 14 years. It's just not getting to my standard of what I would like to see with regard to cleanliness. But I'm happy to have another conversation with them on an ongoing basis.
I would also maybe encourage a conversation with the custodial supervisor.
Any further questions or comments? All right, all in favor to approve the additional 4 hours, Frank?
Yes.
Sam?
Yeah.
Pete?
Yes.
Katrin?
Yes.
It's a yes for me as well. Moving on to item D, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2022-23 Independent Auditors Report. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, no.
That's Sam. All right, go ahead, Biggie.
I can lead it, Biggie, if you'd like.
That exactly.
I just would need a permission to share my screen once again.
think that should still be there. Should.
Okay, I have it now.
Mhm.
Oh, no, it went away.
Can you share?
No, I could for a moment and
Okay,
then,
now you should be able to.
okay, thank you. So this actually can be pretty quick. It's a 36-page document that I believe was distributed to the board before this meeting. And what I wanted to go over were the highlights. So after checking for all of the numbers to ensure their accuracy, the main substance that I look for is whether or not there were any issues with our audit report. And if you go to page 32 of the report, it summarizes the auditor's opinions. And for our financial statements, it was an unmodified opinion from the auditors. They had no issues with the financials as we presented them. They identified no areas for material weakness. There were no significant deficiencies, and there were no instances of non-compliance. For the federal awards, we did not have to go through a federal audit because our federal awards did not exceed $750,000. We typically have never had to do these types of audits until the COVID-19 pandemic, when there was an influx in federal dollars. And I believe during the 21-22 school year, we did go through a federal audit, but we did not need to for the 22-23 school year. On the state side, again, no material weaknesses, no areas of deficiencies, and we were compliant in all of our programs. To summarize, there were no audit findings for the 22-23 school year on our financial statements. There were no question costs for any of our state awards. And it does a summary of the previous school year here. And so from this previous school year, remember, we did have an audit finding associated with our unduplicated pupil count. And we provided a plan of corrective action to address that issue. It did not return again. And the auditors have confirmed that there was no repeat finding and that all is good now. And this will no longer be on the audit report going into the 23-24 school year. Whenever we have a finding, remember, it's a finding on the report for the current year and on the prior year finding as well. And now our prior concern was implemented and not a repeat offender. Any questions on the audit report?
Frank,
Nope.
Sam,
No, just congratulations. I would like to see a clean audit report. It's great news.
I'd also like to add that in this time, it was also still very challenging for lots of charter schools and schools in general to meet the audit report deadline. And your organization did meet the audit report deadline, so LAUSD was very happy about that. So I just wanted to let you know there was no extension needed, and everything turned out really good.
Pete,
Nothing for me, thanks.
Katrin.
Nothing from me. Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing further, I'd like to make a motion to, sorry, I already made the motion for the vote. All in favor to approve the 2022-23 independent auditors report? Frank,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Katrin,
Yes.
Liz, yes for me as well. Moving on to item E. I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2022-23 school accountability report card. Is there a second?
I'll
Second. Nope.
That's from Sam. All right, go ahead, Casey.
I told you it was Pete.
It
Yeah,
was
what?
Pete.
So the school accountability report card is something that we need to fill out and submit every single year. It goes over a variety of areas for all schools, and then this we submit online and then also to the district. So there's some general information just about the school. It'll go into school conditions, so facilities. I walk around and do a facilities inspection at least once a year in preparation for this. It talks about our student data, so the outcomes that we have. Also under conditions, it'll look at access to curriculum and curriculum resources for students, our staffing and how that is laid out. The engagement piece really looks at our community and how we stay engaged with our families and the wider community. And so it's a very long and robust document with lots of information. A lot of it is populated directly from different data sources that are then put into here. And so what I have to do is put in certain information and then double check that some of the information that has been auto-populated is correct. There's nothing in here that is information that has not already been presented to the board. So like our outcomes are all listed in here from prior years for CASP testing. We've got our for our school, but also it goes across through high school. So it'll look at chronic absenteeism, which affects us. But then there's also graduation rates and dropout rates, which don't impact us. So there are some tables that just don't apply to us. But just lots of general school information that we have to fill out every single year.
Questions, comments, Frank?
None. I'm delegating my time to giving my time to Pete.
Sam?
I had one question, but you might have answered it with our conversation earlier about counseling. I noticed towards the end there was in the report about the additional student support services, particularly under the line for SEL, that there wasn't any notation of dedicated staff to that. I thought, and I was wondering where someone like Chris Massey Rhodes sits, or other people who might have services dedicated to that. So maybe a little bit further down.
Yeah, the with some of the staffing pieces, those are really looking at full-time equivalents for staff members. So what we try to do, because Chris Massey Rhodes as our SEL consultant is not a direct staff member, so she's not included like on our staff. It's also kind of the same with some of our resource providers for special education. We contract out for those services, so they're not part of our staff directly.
Great. Okay, thanks. That makes sense.
Sorry, Pete, all you.
I mean, there's not a ton to say. Actually, what I'm more curious and not perhaps what you'd expect is one, what proportion of this gets autofilled and how much of it do you have to input?
Most of it is autofilled. So the majority of it is coming from other, like all of our other data sources that we've had to put through in other areas. So most of it is autofilled. Every now and then there'll be something I noticed that looks different from the autofill last year to this year. So something that was autofilling is correct last year, this year isn't. And so I really have to look at each section carefully because sometimes for one reason or another, the numbers are different. What's really helpful is with our work with Ann Jeanette and her consulting firm, she helps us with our LCAP documents also, is because we're doing all of that LCAP work with her. She is a resource also if I have a question of, I think this information is wrong. Can you help me find, where we had submitted this previously? So that was really helpful too. The majority of it, like I said, is auto-filled information.
Yeah, I mean, it really should be. I guess the other question is, who actually uses this information? So, and obviously you can't control who uses it, except I'd be curious if you go over this with the teachers to give them sort of a more, I don't know, I don't want to say objective, but in some sense objective view of the school that's kind of brings everything together, kind of black and white, so they can see what other people would see in a more standardized form. Does that happen at all?
Previously we have not presented the SARC to staff, but that's an easy thing to start doing and start incorporating into our regular PD time is a review of this document. What we have done in the past is like the different sections that we'll look at. We look at obviously we're looking at student data a lot and we're looking at our curriculum resources, but that full big picture of looking at how it all aligns in this document, we have not done that as a staff yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be good for them to see how the outside world or CDE looks at Goethe. I mean, it's obviously a teacher is focused on their classroom as well as they should be, but there is this larger view, and I think it'd be helpful for them to get that big picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was it? So Frank, you can have your time back.
Thanks, Pete. Frank, do you want your time back?
No, thank you.
Catherine, go ahead.
I'm good, thank you.
All right, then on to the vote. All in favor to approve the SARC? Frank,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes,
That's a yes for me as well. Moving on to item F, I'd like to make a motion to approve the LAUSD Single Year Food Services Agreement. Do I have a second?
I second.
That's from Frank. Go ahead, Biggie.
So this is an agreement that we had to sign in previous years, not during COVID, and the last 1 or 2 years following COVID. The services from the cafeteria were for free for all students, not just those who are eligible for free or reduced lunches. Those lunches are still free. However, okay, here it's good. However, there is now a charge per meal for the preparation. As you can see, the charge is very minor compared to what it used to be. But LAUSD is asking us to sign this agreement so that they can charge us for this food preparation charge. And that is for this school year. So it's relatively late. I'm not sure if they will charge backwards or if they will charge just moving forward. But it is for this school year.
All right. Frank, questions, comments?
None.
Sam?
Is it possible to get clarity? I mean, it seems like something we're going to have to do, but is it possible to get clarity as to whether or not they intend to retroactively charge for the portion of the school year that we didn't know that this was going to be there for?
They had indicated that something was coming. They just didn't send it earlier. And in a previous conversations, the person who is responsible said that they would not charge retroactively. Now they sent this to me in December after the board meeting. So it might be that they do it for December and January, but I do not expect them going back to August. And just as a reference, before COVID, we paid about $3 for preparation fees. So it's really very insignificant compared to charges that we had before. However, the meal preparation charges cannot be charged to parents. So even if a student wasn't eligible for free or reduced lunches, we could not charge the preparation fee to them. So this is all money that we as a school will have to pay to provide the lunches to students.
And just to follow up on that, this is a charge whether or not the student qualifies for free or reduced price lunch.
Sorry, say that again.
Does this charge apply whether or not the student
Yes,
qualifies for free or reduced price lunch? So Goethe pays this no matter what.
correct.
Okay.
Because they prepare the lunches, and before COVID, there would also be a price for the lunch itself. And the price for the whole thing was almost $6. And 3 of those $6 we were able to charge the parents because it was for the food, but the preparation we were never able to charge to parents. And those who were free or reduced lunch eligible, we didn't get invoiced for those lunches. So we only were invoiced for the lunches of non-eligible students, but for the preparation fee of all students that take lunch. What we see now, we will be charged for a good number of students because at this point, I would say 60%, maybe even more of our students are taking the lunches because they don't have to pay for them. So in prior years, we would be at maybe 50%, sometimes even a little lower than 50. But at this point, we have a good number of students who take the school lunches.
Thanks.
Pete?
I think we should make the lunch preparers the custodians. They seem to be a lot cheaper. No, actually, that's probably not true. No questions. Thanks.
Katrin?
No questions. Thank you.
All right, then all in favor to approve the LAUSD food service agreement? Frank?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Katrin?
Yes.
It's a yes for me as well. Item G is next. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Power School Enrollment Express. Yeah. Is this the same contract as before?
Yes, and the approval might be a disapproval. That's why it's on the agenda.
Okay. Yes, all right. I'd like to make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
That's from Frank. Go ahead.
Okay, so a good year ago, even more than a year ago, we started to implement a system called Power School Enrollment Express because the board had asked for a more straightforward and a more professional look of the enrollment process, meaning that parents don't have to fill out enrollment papers by hand, but that this is all on an electronic basis. We had investigated prior to COVID already, and there are two systems out there. One or main systems. One is Power School, a module of Power School, and one is called School Mint. A lot of schools use School Mint, which is a separate company, but is very good in the combination with Power School as your database or school information system. But School Mint also works with other school information systems. So, but both those systems in the full version cost about between $10,000 and $12,000 per year. And they are used from bigger entities. And when we had the conversation, we always were hesitant to pay such a big amount for our small school compared to what the cost is, because overall we're maybe enrolling 100 or 120 students, new enrollments per year, maybe a little more. So then a little after COVID, we were presented with the opportunity to do this with Power School Enrollment Express, which is not the full version of Power School, but a reduced version. And when Chris was in conversations with them and when the project was launched, it sounded like they said it's not super versatile, but for your size of school, it should work. So that's what we've always heard. We worked very hard for a year or so, but we have found now that it's not actually working and that there is no support system for that Power School Enrollment Express. So when you call Power School or when you submit a ticket, it sits, and we've sent out test versions of it to multiple groups of families. And it's very hard to handle what the feedback is because we can't get answers from Power School. And the way the system works, is not easy to work with, and the two people who are here in this on our team who have worked for a year now trying to make this system work for us are at their wit's end and say it's just not working. And parents are really frustrated that things that they input are not being can't be taken over in the system, and we can't get support from PowerSchool. And PowerSchool very clearly says, well, you bought the small version, and that byproduct that we developed at some point when we developed the real version, and we told you prior that there was not really support available for that byproduct small version of PowerSchool enrollment. So at this point, at this point, we have spent quite a bit of money already into this system for the implementation. And then on a yearly basis, it is around $4,000 compared to $10,000 from the other systems. I don't see that this is going to work. We've really investigated quite a bit around it, and we've tried to get PowerSchool to be helpful with it, but we weren't successful with it. So now at this point, I think it is not very wise to pay another year of ongoing cost because we will not be able to use it. And there is no support that can be helpful to make it usable for us. Consequence is that at this point, we would have to go back to the enrollment forms that need to be filled out by hand. And we would need to decide if it is worth for us to go with one of those bigger versions, either PowerSchool or SchoolMint. However, those PowerSchool would most likely work with our PowerSchool, but it could even be there because our student information system is also not the full version. There's also there are also some limits to what our school information system can do. So I'm not 100% sure, and I would want to very clearly specify that what we would buy would work with what we have as student information system, but it would be much, much more expensive because there are no systems out there that do what we want it to do under about $10,000 ongoing cost per year. And that is aside from probably around $8,000 to $10,000 of implementation cost.
Okay, Biggie. Just gonna take a step back. So do we have a PowerSchools agreement for something else? Like for the Goethe performance measures, academic performance measures, or is there?
Yes, I think there is an agreement for the Unified Insights.
Perfect. Okay, so this is completely separate. This is just for the enrollment.
These are three separate systems. They should all work hand in hand. So there is the PowerSchool Student Information System, and then there is the PowerSchool Unified Insights, and then there's this PowerSchool enrollment piece. But enrollment, we didn't take the full version. We took this Enrollment Express, which is a boiled down version of this that is not supported by PowerSchool in the way that the full version would be supported. But it's three different systems, yes.
Okay, so we are talking about so it's basically an add-on to a suite of products that they sell. And this add-on, how long have we had it?
Well, it's not an add-on, it's one module. So they are selling basically modules that you can use in combination, and it should be working all hand in hand because it comes out of the same company. So we've had this PowerSchool Enrollment Express 2 years now. So the first year, we started with the creation of all the forms that we need for parents to fill out and all this. And then this year we've continued with it and also done certain test runs with it.
Okay, so 2 years, so it went from acquisition to implementation and testing, and you've come to the conclusion now that this technology is not sufficient. It's not going to work for us. And it's the reasoning for it is because they offer no support. Is that correct?
Not only they offer no support for the challenges that we run into. So so certain fields that parents fill out are not correctly transferring into the school information or student information system. Or for example, when someone fills out a form and they make no changes, it doesn't indicate for us that no changes are made. So we have to go into every single form and look and compare, because it doesn't indicate where or if changes have been made, which other systems would do. And when parents try to input certain things, it gives error messages, and then parents send us the screenshot of the error message. And then PowerSchool says, well, this is the small version. We're not supporting this. You knew this beforehand, that it might work, but it might not work. And so it's a combination of a lot of things that make it very hard, in my opinion, pretty much impossible to use this small version to do what we are trying to do.
Okay. So your ask is to increase our spend and get another version which will meet our needs.
No, my ask is at this point first to not continue with this, to not spend more money on something that will not work for us. And then I would like to investigate very much in detail before I come back to tell you we should go with SchoolMint or we should go with PowerSchool. Once we found out if with our school information system, which now we've learned is also not a full version, but a reduced version of PowerSchool, if with that reduced version, those two possibilities even work properly, or if we would have to do even more in order to make one of those very expensive versions to work for us. So I'm not asking you to approve one of these bigger versions right now because I don't know enough about it. I just know that what we have right now is not working. And we've spent hours and hours and hours to make it work, and it's not working for multiple reasons. And since it's up for renewal in April, I would like to not renew it, knowing that the board wanted to specifically have a system that makes it possible that people fill it out electronically and all this. So I'm not saying I'm not honoring and knowing that I'm asking something of you that will move us back a little bit, but I would like to investigate first before suggesting which version is the best for us to move forward with our needs, and then find the way that we can successfully do this.
Okay,
Because I also don't want to lose the confidence of the parents by constantly sending out versions and trial runs, and it never works. And when they come back and say, can you answer this question? Then we can't, because there's no support behind it. It just doesn't look good for us.
okay. So last question, and I'll open it up for further discussion. As of today, are we accepting enrollment applications digitally?
No.
Like successfully? We are not. Okay.
No.
So we've done this for 2 years and we've still not been successful at it. We're still doing it the old school. Okay. All right. Frank, questions, comments?
No comments, really.
Sam?
Two questions. So first, with the Power School Enrollment Express, that was not a long-term contract. This is a year-by-year renewal. Is that right?
It's a long-term it could be long-term, but they come back every year, as you've seen on the slide, that every year the per student amount increases, and they ask you every year how many students you have. So it's a per student amount that you pay. So therefore, each year you would name it to them, and then they send you the quote and you pay.
Right.
But you could also say, we don't want it anymore.
Okay, so we're not going to face a penalty under the
Not that I
contract if
know
we
of.
don't. Okay, so I think we should confirm that, and I think as the board, because the renewal is not until April and we're trending towards non-renewal, we want to understand if there is any financial penalty that comes with not renewing for next year. And then also, have you sought any advice as to whether or not they're meeting the terms of the contract in terms of the support provided? I'm not suggesting that would make them the good path to go on, but have they been living up to the terms of the contract? Because that's a different discussion we get to have with them if they haven't been.
Yeah, I did not read the contract in detail, so I can do that. Chris entered the contract with them and checked the contract, but I'm happy to look into this. I'm just going off of the daily work with them, and that was very unsatisfying.
Yeah. Well, so I'm supportive of going forward to find a solution that works. I think whether or not they've lived up to the contract is separate from the fact that we've learned that the service that they've provided doesn't work for us. Whether they've lived up to the terms of their contract or not, the service doesn't work for what we need it to do. So I think you should continue to look for what that full solution is, whether it works with the student information system, whether we need a different student information system. And I'd encourage you in those conversations also to see if you can get information from other similarly sized charter schools to see, what combination of systems they use, because that might also help us identify what we need.
We've already reached out to a few contacts, and we've gotten some people to talk to who've worked with both the Power School and the School Mint bigger versions. So that's fully on my list of to-dos to get more information. That's why I said I wouldn't want you to say, okay, then let's increase the budget and let's do this. I first need to know where we're going, and then in good conscience recommend something that makes sense for our school.
Thanks.
Pete?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't want to continue with something that doesn't work well, and it's somewhat surprising that the company is so unsupportive, but be that as it may. So I think, but I do think it's imperative that applicants are able to apply digitally, because that is the way of the world, and it's moving more and more in that direction. And it also signals that we are, you claim to do STEM and all this sort of thing, and you're bringing in signed documents by hand, it just doesn't seem to signal very well what we're about. That said, though, so I think I think it'd be potentially useful to look at other options. So I mean, the two you mentioned are two probably more common ones, but maybe there's other options like DocuSign does forms, and maybe that can communicate enough, and there's enough flexibility for that to work. Or maybe there's maybe we could hire a programmer for far less than that to set something up through Google Forms or something like that. There's lots of different ways of approaching this. It isn't clear what kind of interactivity there needs to be, because it's presumably a one-time link that populates some fields in the ongoing data set. Obviously, I don't know all the details, so I could be completely wrong. But I think it's thinking about what the linkages need to be and how often they need to occur, and then what other options there might be besides just Mint and PowerSchool. I think might be
completely
useful.
agree. So that's why I didn't mean to present something now. I just wanted to make sure that we're all in agreement to not continue with what is not working right now.
Katrin?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think we are all in agreement. So it's reasonable to take some time to research better solutions, reasonable not to continue with this system. It really sounds like a pain in the neck to deal with. And I was thinking DocuSign PowerForm when Pete said it, so I feel like we're on the same page here. There is probably a middle ground between the all-encompassing IT solution and paper and pencil, or, other kinds of pens. So maybe that could be an interim solution while you're researching alternatives. So yeah, I'm supportive.
So I don't think there's an ask today, because I think we'll get to it probably in April. So this is more of a discussion, so there's no ratification necessary. I
Well,
cannot, go ahead.
I didn't know how to put it to
No, that's fine. It's fine.
disapprove of it. I mean, I don't, that's
No,
why
it's
on the
totally cool.
agenda. So,
No. Technology sucks, right? I think we can all agree on that. I think the most important thing to do is the lesson I would try to impart on your team is that there comes a point where we just got to give up. You know what I mean? Like 2 years going down this path, like the board was pretty clear that this is one of those things that's so essential that we implement as quickly as possible. And perhaps it was our, not perhaps, it was our mistake that we didn't follow up on this in a timely manner. But it is absolutely essential that when prospective parents apply to this organization, that they do it digitally and they do it as quickly and easily as possible for them. So happy you brought it to our attention. I think one thing to keep in mind, as Chris isn't here, but one thing to keep in mind is if something doesn't work, and I still remember how the board, like during that session, was so adamant, like, what? We are still doing this? Like, we got to do this right away. To recognize that urgency and to say, like, hey, if something doesn't work and the board really wants this to happen in like 60 days, 90 days, whatever, it was super urgent. We need to stop right now instead of, it's not a fiscal matter. It's just wasting everyone's time. So yes, I encourage you to research into something that works. Obviously, it's too late to, I don't think we can get a refund. That's not going to happen. But it is definitely up for debate if this is the ultimate solution. But I challenge you, cannot emphasize the word challenge, to get this done in any way, shape, or form. Google Forms, I mean, like, you can put Google, like, I don't know what kind of contact. We're not here to solve your problem. We're not going to do that. All of us can do it. Peter and 3 things, Katrin mentioned something. We're not going to solve your problem, but all I'm going to say is there is technology out there now that you can go put on our website, and it will immediately ask someone some questions, and it'll send it to your email and say, this person just applied. And yes, that might not Anyway, sorry. I don't want to
No,
belabor it.
I totally get that. The whole point, though, is that it's a system that works with our student
the-
information system because
with the integration. I know,
correct.
I totally understand.
so
But
we
what I'm
need
saying
to-
is, not that. If it doesn't, clearly it's not working with their student integration system and hasn't for 2 years. In the meantime, just get the form out at all cost. So I would challenge you, since it's not a ratification, this is a request from the board president. Please put something out there so people can just apply online as quickly as possible. And it looks like it's we're in the 2024. Okay, that's all I would say. But thank you for bringing it to our attention. I can't emphasize enough how technology sucks, and they're all vampires out there. So
Can I add one point to that?
Go
though,
ahead, go
this
ahead.
year? I want to make sure that in your rush to put something up, I agree with the board. This is something we've been asking for. It is something that we really need to show that we're getting up to technology time. Do not ignore the privacy aspects of this information because of the information that you're going to be collecting. And I recognize that that poses a bit of a challenge. So, get the inputs that you need to make sure that whatever solution you're picking has the correct privacy protections around it so that we don't create a different issue for the school.
Thank you, Sam. I pity you, Biggie. So, all right. We are moving on to new business. Biggie, would you like to tell us when our next board meeting is?
It's on February 12th.
Okay. Hey, Valentine's Day. We should all, I don't know, what do people do? No, we shouldn't do anything. It's close to, all right. February 12th, Monday. If there's any new items any board members would like to add, Frank?
Nope.
Sam?
Just to make sure we get an up-to-date status on the executive director search for that meeting.
Yes, let's all go through it. I just want to, yeah, that's one of my talking points. Pete?
Nope.
Katrin?
What Sam said.
Okay, so we have some conversations to have in closed session. It is, I think it's pertinent that we discuss board availability as we get closer and closer to candidate reviews and potential interviews. So other than our general meeting, I'm projecting that we're probably going to meet at least one extra time every month between the contract proposal, which I'm hoping to get done by April and May. It might not be one extra one a month. It'll be less, but I just want to throw it out there that we're projecting a special meeting to review candidates or potentially interview candidates. February, March, April. So that's potentially three additional meetings. I will try to keep it to maybe 2, but I'll give you some more background on where we are in the whole thing on the confidential process. And it's a confidential process, so obviously it'll be through closed session. All right. If there is nothing further, the Board of Trustees will now convene to closed session.
Okay, good to go.
Okay. The board is now reconvening to open session. We want to report out that we authorized the payment of $3,650 to Kumon Math Tutoring, to Dynamic Education Services for $7,800, and Susan Holler for $3,000. The board would also like to report that we are adding a payment supplement to Casey Jones and Biggie for the amount of $1,800 each as a pay supplement for their outstanding work for the last 4 months. And contract negotiations for the next 5 months to extend their responsibilities in the addendum for as we continue to as we extend our executive director search. I think I got that. Frank, did I get it?
I think so.
Well,
Yeah.
I can look at the recording then.
Okay. The board also authorizes me to pursue labor negotiation contracts with Casey and Biggie.
For the extension.
For the extension. Thank
Yeah.
you. Oh, yep, that's it. All right. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do you have a second?
Yes.
That's Sam. All right, all in favor? Frank?
Aye.
Sam?
Yes.
Katrin?
Yep.
And CS for me. Thank you
What about
guys
Pete?
so
You didn't ask
much.
Pete. Okay,
Wait,
you didn't ask Pete.
I'm
that's the
not
second
saying
time.
no.
I know. And that's so that's a yes from Pete. I'm sorry. A lot
Yeah.
of practice. It's the, New Year resolution. Ignore Pete in every
Yeah.
meeting.
No, you're on.
Kidding. All right.
not
Thank
the
you
only
guys
one.
so much. No, thank you guys so much. I appreciate everything you guys do. We'll see you soon.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.